guys, so we're back with another video, but today we're going to do it a little differently on this channel. We're going to be doing a cooking video, so a cook with me video, and we're going to be making some Hawaiian chicken with rice and peas with string beans and potatoes and Plantains. It's something new, but I've been wanting to get into doing more home stuff on my channel anyway. Something quick, because as you know, during this quarantine, finding stuff in the grocery store is kind of hard. So let's get right into it. I already had my meat marinated in this Hawaiian chicken sauce, and I seasoned it with a little bit of pepper, garlic seasoning, and Lawry's. So now we're just gonna, I had it marinated for about 30 to 45 minutes, and we're just gonna place it on our baking dish now. And the kind of dish that I have this wired rack on top of my baking dish. I have the baking dish under it so like all the oils and stuff could drain. But I got this cooking style from my mother-in-law. Every time we go to Jersey, she make us this type of chicken. And I was watching what she was cooking it in last time, and she had some type of rack thing. So I took the idea. But yeah, I think I want to add a little bit more seasoning salt to mine, just because we like flavor in my household. Babe, Terrence.
Yeah.
Can you bring me the seasoning salt, please? Because my hands are dirty.
Oh shit, where's that, babe?
Right in the cabinet. I'm going to just take off one of my gloves. Yes, I'm going to add a little more seasoning salt because I like to have flavor in my food. And this is my first time using this Hawaiian seasoning. So I want to make sure I have some flavor. And I'm also going to add a pack of sazon. Make sure you get it all under the skin, like pull the skin back and make sure you get it all on the meat. So that's what you want to look for, that color. I also already have my oven preheating. I have my oven preheating to 375 already. Now when you lay your chicken down, so you want to have the meat side up, because once we flip it, you want the skin side to be the side that's going to be last, so it can stay crunchy. So that's what it's looking like now. And remember, I said meat side up and the skin side is going to be down, because we're going to flip it halfway through. Now what I like to do is drizzle this sauce right on top, because remember, it's marinade. We had this marinating, so every bit counts. Alright, so now that we got our chicken on the pan, we're going to place this in the oven on 375 for 45 minutes. Then we're going to come back and check. And also, chicken thighs don't really take that long to cook, but you do want to make sure it's cooked thoroughly. And like I said, we're going to come back and flip it. So, and then we'll be back. And let me give you a look of how it looks now, close up. Okay, so while that's cooking, I'm going to go ahead and wash up the dish that I had used to season the chicken and marinate it in. And then I'm going to get everything else out that I'm going to be cooking with my dinner. Alright, so it's been 35 minutes. I know I said 45 minutes, but we're going to check on the chicken and see what it's looking like. I peeked at it and it looked like it's time to flip it, but let's see. I just got a new mitten because my Aggie husband was trying to take something out the oven, and look what he did to the mitten.
Oh shit.
And I just had got this one too. Men. Okay guys, so this is what it's looking like right now. I'm gonna check. Okay, so you see it's not all the way cooked thoroughly. So I'm gonna put it back in there. All right, so you see that it's cooking, but it's not all the way cooked through. You lift up a piece of meat and you can still see that. Like you can tell by the texture, if you're like really used to cooking, you will know the texture of cooked chicken. But remember, we're not trying to cook the whole thing through on this side because we are gonna flip it. But like I said, we're gonna flip it within 45 minutes. It's only been 35 minutes. So we're gonna put this in there for, babe. All right. As you can see, everybody's home quarantined basically. So my husband's home and my kid's home. So you can probably hear them in the background in the game chat. So you know how that goes, ladies. Anyway, I'm gonna put this back in there for another 10 minutes. Oop. Anyway, this goes back in for another 10 minutes. I got caught talking crap. He got his headphones in, but he just happened to take them off when I'm talking crap versus when I'm telling him to be quiet a little bit. Anyway, we're gonna put the chicken back in for another 10 minutes, and then we're gonna come back to check it. And then we're gonna come back to flip it actually. All right, guys, so now it's been about 45 to 50 minutes, so we're gonna flip it over. And then we're gonna let it cook on this side for about 25 minutes to half an hour. And you see what I mean now? Why I said put the skin side down? Because you see how it's still soft? And if we used to put it down first, when we flipped it over, it would have got soft. But being that we're gonna have this side up, it's gonna stay crunchy. And I like using this method of cooking, like this bacon rack thing, because as you see, it drains all that oil down there. And it's way more healthier for you. Let me get you closer. So that's what it's looking like now. And it smells delicious. So we're gonna put this back in the oven for about 25 minutes to half an hour like I told you. Now we can put the oven down to 325. And we're gonna start the rice. We're gonna be using the rice cooker to make our red beans and rice. Now, don't try to come for me because I definitely do know how to make this from scratch. But we're using the Goya box today because it's good. So, we're gonna be using the red beans and rice box, butter, pepper, a little bit of garlic powder,
Don't steal my kiss, y'all.
a little bit of garlic powder, and a little bit of adobo. I usually use some of this in my rice, but I like to use this when I'm making white rice. But it's just like bouillon season, like the bouillon cubes, but it's the seasoning. But I'm not using that today because we're using red beans and rice instead of white rice. And also we're going to be using chicken broth versus water. Okay, so then we're going to pour in our chicken broth. And you want to make sure it's completely covering the rice. If you can see my toaster there, don't mind my little junky toaster. We're gonna add 3 tablespoons of butter. I'm stirring it to make sure that it's a good amount of liquid in there. I'm gonna put a tiny bit more of the stock. Okay, that's it. I put about 2.5 cups of stock in there But like I said, I love to cook, and I can actually eyeball it versus having to use measuring cups and stuff. Now I'm gonna just stir that together real quick. Put the top on it. Okay, so once you have your rice cooker on, just push the thing down and cook, and it's automatically going for you. Okay, so while the rice is cooking and the chicken's cooking, we have about, I want to say about 20 more minutes for our chicken to cook, and we're gonna, so let me get everything ready for that, and we'll be right back. I meant to mention as well, so when you put the chicken in for the second time after you flip it, you want to put it on the bottom rack. Terrence. Okay guys, so now we're gonna start on our string beans and potatoes. So we're gonna turn the fire to a medium heat. We're gonna use the coconut oil. So we're gonna let the coconut oil sit. Okay, so I'm gonna turn my fire down to a medium low. I'm gonna start putting my vegetables in here. I wanted to put my fire on a medium low. And like I said, it's just the coconut oil in here. And we're gonna season this up too. Season all your food, people. Make sure you season your food. And do not come for me about the season. I love well-seasoned food. And it's not salty enough, it's not a lot. So I'm putting pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, minced onions, and seasoning salt. Okay, so you want to mix that all together. Guys, so now I'm going to add a little bit of garlic, minced garlic. Add a little bit of minced garlic to this. Add 1 tablespoon of butter. Alright, we're going to turn this down to about a 2 to let it just simmer and do its thing so everything can be hot at the same time. We don't want anything to cook too fast that have to be sitting. So we're going to turn this down to a low and we're just going to let it do its thing. Cool? Now we're gonna check on our rice. As you can see, it's bubbling nicely. Okay guys, I put the chicken back at the top rack because it's a good enough time that the chicken has cooked through thoroughly. So now I just want to get that crisps on the top, and it's gonna be out soon. I think I'm gonna make a sauce to go with it. But hey guys, so the rice is done, the chicken is done, the vegetables are just about done. So we're gonna start our platanos now. We're gonna do sweet platanos, and I'm gonna show you how to make them. I'm gonna show you the rice first real quick. Rice and beans. As you can see, I took out the chicken and the vegetables are basically done. Our oil is heating up for our platanos. You want to make sure the oil is really, really hot before you put your platanos in. To know the difference between a sweet platanos and a regular one is the blackness, or the ripeness, I should say. This is very, very ripe. This is very ripe because it's really dark. So first you want to take your knife, put your hole in, so you can split it down the back. Peel it all the way off. I like to trim all the ugly parts off of it. I know that's extra and a lot of people don't do that. Okay, then you want to cut the tips of them off. I cut the tip of that one off a little bit. Then you can just start cutting in the slant. Like you see? See how it's slanted like that? That's what you want. You want to cut it in a slant. I do mine a little bigger when they're sweet. Okay, now lay them flat. These are already sweet, but I like to season mine a little bit. And all I do to season the sweet ones is I add either brown sugar or regular sugar, but we're just gonna add a little bit of regular sugar. Just a little. Flip them around. So when you're doing this, be careful though, because you had the oil heating. So you see, when you let it heat for a little while, it's gonna automatically start that sizzle. And that's what you want, because you definitely do not want these to sit in grease. You don't want them to be soggy. And the reason that I did these dead last is because they cook super quick. And make sure when you're doing this, you have a big enough pan so you can have room. The same with like frying chicken or anything. You don't want to ever overcrowd the pan. While that's cooking, I'm gonna get the plates out and start making plates. Well, I'm gonna straighten up my little mess and clean up the cutting board and everything. Then I'm gonna start making plates. I actually decided to make a quick little gravy while all of this is while the platanos are still cooking. I'm gonna make a quick little gravy. And I rinsed these tongues out when I used them for the chicken to use for this. So we're gonna flip them over. I'm gonna flip these twice. So if they're not as brown as you would like, we're gonna flip them again. Flip them over. But make sure you have room in between each one so that they can cook properly. And what the sugar does for it that I like as well is it caramelizes it a little bit too. Alright, so you got your butter going. Put your fire down to a medium. Gonna put in about a cup of chicken stock. Bring the fire up a little bit more. I put the oven in, excuse me, I put the chicken in the oven. The oven is off, but I put it in there just to keep it warm. Got this, I got the cap on the rice to keep that warm. This is still warm on the stove. But right before I make the plates, well, I'm gonna make my kids' plate because their stuff don't need to be super hot. But right before I make my plate and my husband's plate, I'm gonna put the fire on low just to warm it up. Even though it's not cold, I just know we like our food super hot. So we're gonna just wait for this to melt, and I'll be back when it's all bubbly and boiling. Okay, so as you see, the butter is all melted down. Well, it's melted down for the most part. It's just a little piece in there that's still trying to melt. But the butter is melted down. We have our powder right here, and I told you this is a quick meal tonight. I know how to do all this stuff from scratch, but we're just gonna use a gravy little packet and call it a night. But you're gonna take a ladle. Gonna take your ladle. You always want, when you're making gravy, regardless if it's like a packet or homemade, you always want to add your hot water to a separate thing of your flour, because if you add your flour straight into it, then it's going to be clumpy. So add your hot liquid. Add the hot liquid into that, and then mix it around. And then once you got this paste, you're going to add the paste to the actual gravy. But you see how it's easier to mix like this? Or see how it's easier to mix like this and there's no clumps and it's smooth? If you was to just add that, mix the powder into this, it would have been so many clumps. We're going to turn that fire down to a low. We only had it that high so it can bring up the temperature quicker. Alright, so now we're going to flip these again. And we're just going to let them cook for about 2 minutes. Well, not even 2 minutes, just 1 more minute. And then they're done. But you see this golden brown color? That's what we're looking for. Keep stirring your gravy. And keep stirring this gravy. Now, depending on your likeness, you can add more liquid or anything to it. I'm going to add a little bit more liquid because I don't want mine to be that thick. I added my liquid to this first because remember, this is what we mix the gravy in. So you can get the rest of that gravy in there. And then just add a little bit more because I don't want this to be super thick. Okay. Mix that up. I turn my fire to a 2. And while that's simmering and coming to a little boil, we're gonna season it up. So we're gonna put some pepper. Garlic powder. Onion powder. Adobo. A little seasoning salt. And then we're gonna add a tiny bit of Sazon in it. I like to season my gravy with almost the same exact thing. Well, basically the same thing that I season whatever meat I'm making with it. So a tiny bit of that, just a tiny bit. See, that way it matches the color of the chicken as well too, so it's not gonna just stand out. But yep, this is the basic, quickest, fastest gravy you'll ever see. I can do a video on how to make homemade gravy because believe it or not, I know a lot of people do not know how to make gravy, but it's so simple. And I can also do a video on how to make homemade rice and beans. Like I said, I used the box today because I'm trying to do a quick dinner, but I can definitely show you guys how to make it homemade. Do you see how the gravy is nice and smooth? No lumps? That's what you want to look for in your gravy. Nice smooth gravy. Alright, so we're going to start taking out our Plantains. Make sure you have something to drain it on immediately once they come out. Do not overlap them though because they're going to get stuck to each other because like I said, that sugar almost caramelizes it. These be so darn good. I mean, if you got no choice but to make some of them touch, like it's not gonna kill you. Just be a little careful though, cause they're sticky. I'm letting this one cook a little longer because it wasn't really browning at all. You never want to let your gravy just sit. As you can see, like it's starting to come to a boil. Before we was just letting it simmer, and that's exactly what we're looking for. Just a slight boil, because it's already hot. Okay guys, so you see how the gravy is coming to a slight boil? That's exactly what you want, and I'm gonna turn mine off now because I know it's already definitely hot and I don't want it to burn at the bottom. So the gravy is done. I'm gonna show you the texture of it. Look at that. That's what you want. You want it to coat it. And like I said, you can make yours differently on how thick or loose you want yours, but this is exactly how I want mine. So I'm going to turn the fire off. And I'm going to grab my last Plantains. You see how I let that brown up a little bit more? See how I let it brown up a little bit more? It's exactly what you want. Alright guys, so I'm about to make some plates and I'll be back to show you the finished product. Okay guys, so I'm finishing up our plate. This is my plate and this is my husband's. I'm going to show you guys his plate. Those Plantains are so freaking good. But let me get back to showing you the plate. Without the gravy. I'm gonna put the gravy on, then I'll be right back to show you the finished product. Okay guys, so this is the final product. Hawaiian chicken, Hawaiian baked chicken with string beans and potatoes, red beans and rice, and some sweet Plantains. Thank you for cooking with me today, guys, and let me know if you want to see more videos like this because I really enjoy doing this type of video. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you. You can say it too. This is the aftermath. Me and hubby's plate, so you know what time it was.